Welcome back, College Personal Finance students. Mr. Clem, and we are in Chapter 15, and we are picking up with our capital needs assignments, and I gave you four total. Let's go over the first one, a lady here named Mary Jones. Now, we're going to do really similar ideas to the Byron C. Lamone guy, but the numbers are different. We're going to go through roughly the same process. So Mary is currently 41. Mary would like to retire at age 62. Health history and family background and all of that says she thinks she's going to make it till about age 90. So math says she's got 21 years to make this thing happen, and she plans on living for another 28 after that. So she's got to come up with a pile of cash between 41 and 62 to retire, but she has no idea what that number is. She wants to know, well, how big of a pile of cash do I need at age 62 to live the way I'd like to live until the day I die? And again, we're still doing a pure annuity model method, meaning the last day she's living is the last dollar she spends. She's not leaving anything for anybody else. Some of the other facts that we're going to deal with is currently her pre-retirement income is $80,000, and she has a wage replacement ratio of 80%. How we got that, I don't know that it matters. Whether that is the current savings and payroll taxes or the budget amount, it doesn't really matter. We've got to a wage replacement ratio of 80. Right now, her annual Social Security payments are going to be $12,000 total. That pretty much comes out to $1,000 a month. She hasn't saved anything yet. So logically, had she had more money saved, it would have been an easier chore to do. But right now, she's like, this is why I'm coming to you. I don't have anything set aside. Help me out. We're going to go with the S&P 500 kind of industry standard 10% rate of return, and we've got inflation currently at 3%. So we're going to go through the same general scenario. We're going to calculate an inflation adjusted rate of return. We've got a wage replacement ratio. We're going to figure out what are those gross dollar needs, adjust those needs for pensions or Social Security. We're just talking Social Security. But on the test, maybe you've got a pension and Social Security. So it would be reducing that amount by both. I'm not saying that's what it is. I just know the guy who might be writing the test. We've got to take whatever that dollar value is at current age 41, and we got to bring it forward to age 62 so we're not losing ground, we're not losing purchasing power, and right now we're saying that's a 3% rate of return, inflation. We then say, okay, whatever that number happens to be at age 62, we need it compounding, or we need it every year at the beginning of the year for the next 28 years. And then let's work backwards to say, well, if Mary starts at age 41, dropping in money on a monthly basis until age 62, what is it going to cost her to be able to get her pile so that she can retire and then live off that pile? So here are our numbers. Again, wage replacement ratio is 80%. So our step two, our first actual bit of math is annual income times wage replacement ratio. 80,000 times 80%, we're at $64,000 a year, right? That's the value of this money currently at age 41, what she thinks she's going to need to retire on. We subtract the $12,000 in Social Security. So we need $52,000 a year beginning at age 62. Well, the problem is the 52,000 is at age 41. So we got to take the $52,000 number, we got to bring it forward at inflation, which is 3%, so that in 21 years, what's that going to cost? She thinks she needs 52 today. She obviously doesn't need it today. But what's that $52,000 number going to be worth when it's 21 years in the future at age 62? So future value, our Annual interest rate is 3%. Our annual amount of time is 21. That's 62 minus 41. We're not letting any leak out. We're not putting any in. We're starting with 52,000. What's that annual number going to be? And our math says it's going to be just a little short of $97,000 per year. So step 4, her pre-retirement income, that's adjusted for inflation. We then kind of hit the pause button. We go over here and we calculate our inflation adjusted rate of return. We cannot just take 10 minus 3 and call it 7. That's not reality. That's not how this works. It's we're already way ballparking things. That's even more way ballparking things. Now, the number we've got is not that far off from 7. But to calculate our inflation adjusted rate of return, again, 1 plus the investment rate of return, divide by 1 plus the inflation rate, minus 1 multiplied by 100, 6.796%. Right? As you do yours, if you type in the number 6.796%, you may get a slightly different number than I do, because I say just go pull this number here, this whole number here, and then put a percent at the end of it. I'm not right, I'm not wrong, I'm just saying that's the way I choose to do it. So it's using this whole number here, and it'll spit out an answer, right? My answer is 1.278 million. Now I take this and I bump the decimals up a bunch, right? It's really this number here, 1,278,954, 0.4603420, right? If you put whole numbers in yours, maybe rounding a little, and with this much time and this much of a rate of return, that number could be significant. I'm just going to bring mine back to plain old normal dollars. So what do I need? How big of a pile do I need at age 62, assuming that starting at age 62, I'm going to go ahead and start pulling numbers. Let's hide that for now. We don't care about that for now. Let's start pulling numbers at $96,000 a year at the beginning of age 62 for every one of the next 28 years. So again, earnings rate less inflation rate in our inflation adjusted rate of return, death minus retirement age, how many years we need. Again, future value 0, right? Because we're not gonna leave anything for our kids. Our yearly needs is the answer in step 4. And then again, 1, because we want that money at the beginning of the year. So again, rounding could make your number off a little bit, but I've got $1,278,000, almost $279,000. Now again, from the fact sheet, we don't have any current retirement savings, so we're starting from scratch. So here we're saying 10% is our investment rate of return, and we're going to do this thing monthly. So 10% divided by 12, comma, we've got 21 years from age 41 to 62 to make this happen, but we're not going to make these payments annually. We're going to make them once a month. So 10% rate of return divided by 12, 21 times 12. Present value of the annuity, right now we don't have any money, right? So present value is going to be 0. Future value is going to be this number here that we solved, the 1.278 number. And again, our type is going to be 0. I wrote kind of formulas in formulas. The math I got going on is we need to put away about $1,500 a month. That's about $750 a paycheck, and that's not outrageous, but that's a pretty big chunk of change. We have no idea if she can afford that. But I mean, it's doable. Right? It's a doable thing. Now, I put this one down here. This is not part of your problem, but I just threw it down there to say, well, what if she did have some money? What if she did have $500,000, 50, sorry, not 500. What if she's got $50,000 sitting in a 401k, Roth IRA, whatever, individual IRA? She's got a pile of money that can be either rolled over or can be started with as we start to compound, right? Math is still the same. 10% divided by 12, 21 times 12. Again, I want these two numbers to be opposites because one is a starting value, one is a grow to value. So I've got a minus 50,000 for the present value number, and I've got a positive 1.278 million for my future value number. And again, I do it at the end of the period, and I only need $1,000, so about $500 a paycheck, roughly. Now, the underlying assumptions is we're getting 10% consistent for all 21 of these years. That may not happen. We are able to put this exact number in over those 21 years. That may not happen. Inflation is going to stay constant at 3%. Well, that may not happen. But it is at least a planning tool to say, okay, I better get on the stick, and I got to be putting between $500 and $750 away a paycheck over my last 21 years, and it's still a doable thing. Now, your biggest asset as a person is time. The sooner you can get into this, the sooner you can start putting money away, the better you're going to be. You won't need a 10% rate of return if you can start at 18, 22, 25, whatever it happens to be. Right? The prior example of Byron, he was only putting away $126. Right? That's not a lot. Granted, it was a 12% rate of return, but still, $200-300 a month at a 7 or 8% rate of return is going to make you so much money. Or you go put it in a Roth IRA, where that Roth IRA you can take that money out tax free at the end. How do you not do things like that? So, answer to Mary Jones.